Hello everybody, Figment here, back with Preparing for Deadman Annihilation, Episode 2. Here to help you thrive and survive in the upcoming Deadman mode. Today is all about plugins. This might be one of the more important videos in the miniseries, so let's not waste any time. First up is the number one thing I believe every single player on RuneLite should set up regardless if there's a seasonal mode on the horizon, and that is a RuneLite profile for your character. A RuneLite profile allows you to save plugins and their settings on a per character basis. This can be found in the configuration tab on RuneLite, otherwise known as the wrench icon, and then the second tab over at the top labeled profiles. As you can see here on the right, I have a profile set up for my Iron Pure. For recording, my normal Pure, main, Iron, you get the point. Having the ability to have separate plugin settings per character, or in this case for a seasonal mode, is extremely convenient. For example, maybe you want different bank tab layouts or tile markers, or maybe you want to change your custom XP drops to match that of the seasonal multiplier. Or maybe you're a limited account who's terrified of disabling the attack styles plugin. Yeah, that couldn't be me. Well, here's a quick rundown on how to set up a profile. There are two ways to set up a new profile. The first being simply clicking the new profile button. There's a disclaimer though, this is a completely fresh profile, meaning all of your plugins and settings will not be there and you'll have to re-download them and reset them up. The second way, however, is how you get your current profile imported, and that's by importing your profile. You should have a folder in your RuneLite directory that tracks all of your plugin data, and you should be able to select it and import it. I'm not going to show my personal file directory on screen, but it should be a very straightforward find. And that's all, you're done. You can then duplicate your profile, give it a new name, in this case I'll name mine DMM, and now you can have separate settings as you please. I cannot stress enough how convenient this is for a seasonal mode, and alts of course, once you get it set up. It has personally saved me a load of time and multiple headaches, enough to make me put this at the very top of the list for any seasonal mode. Here's a pro tip for those on the jagex launcher. This little orange chain link icon here allows your selected profile to auto-load on game launch. I personally will have this set to my Deadman profile during the seasonal, so I don't have to worry about swapping profiles every time I log in. And it's really that easy to swap. Next up is actually a 2-for-1 plugin deal combo. First, Entity Hider. You might be confused as to why I'm suggesting Entity Hider for a Deadman seasonal, but bear with me for a second. Everyone knows about Entity Hider for places like the Grand Exchange, Guardians of the Rift, Wintertot, wherever there's just a ton of people on your screen and you want to make them go away in a single click. However, Entity Hider has a few additional features which can actually give you quite an advantage in terms of PvP. I'm talking about the Hide Local Player option. This option allows you to hide your own character model so you can see what your opponent is doing if they step underneath you. But this alone is a little janky and confusing, so that's where the second plugin comes in, which is known as Player Outline. Player Outline is a very simple plugin. It quite literally just gives your player an outline. And it looks like this, which personally to me is much better looking than just being invisible. Here are my settings. Side note, you don't actually need Entity Hider for this. You can use the ::render self command in game, but I personally like using Entity Hider as it's a bit easier to toggle on and off. Here's a bonus tip for the video enjoyers. There's another trick you can use with Entity Hider, especially at breaches. Breaches in the past felt clustered, players everywhere, hard to focus somebody, you never know who's attacking you. Well, if you know the name of the person you want to attack or is attacking you, you can add them to your ignore list. And if you flip on Entity Hider while you have somebody on ignore, and you do not have this box checked, you will only see them. Next up is one of my personal favorites, and it's a plugin by the name of Line of Sight. The settings are very simple. I'll put them on the screen for you here. This plugin shows every single tile your character can see within the set range. I personally set the range to 10, which is the max distance for both Barrage and Entangle, and I do want this noted that this plugin is extraordinarily powerful for both freeze logging and 10 tiling. For those of you who don't know, here's a quick tutorial on freeze logging and 10 tiling. Freeze logging is when you freeze your opponent and then hug an object in the game to either log out, or in the case of Deadman, to teleport away. 10 tiling is when you stand, 10 tiles away, and if your opponent steps out of range of you when you are currently frozen, your freeze will break, even if it has time remaining. Welcome to my humble onion patch. This looks like a great place to have a nice and fair 1v1 against somebody in Deadman mode. Except it's not. This random patch behind me is actually a multi-combat zone. Don't believe me? Try out the plugin Multi-Lines. This plugin will paint a border around every single multi-combat area in the game. Well, except the Wilderness. The Wilderness has its own, called Wilderness Multi-Lines, and is quite popular and used by many. See, the rest of the world outside the Wilderness is littered with random little patches of multi just like this, and the Multi-Lines plugin might just save you from having 20 bums splitting your Mystic set. Disclaimer though, I ran around and did a little testing myself, and there were a few spots that were added in Varlamore Part 3, like the Gem Crab area, that do not show on the plugin. So keep that in mind as you're in newer areas. They might not all be there. Can you see what's wrong with this clip? Well, I can, and I know that there's a player behind that tree right there waiting to kill me. How do I know? The plugin Player Indicators. This is a very simple plugin that has a massive impact on staying alert in dangerous areas. There's a reason many PvP locked hardcores turn the plugin off, and it's because it's simply powerful, especially the ability to see their name on your minimap. Here are my settings. I think most of these are the default settings, but play around with what looks best for you. Some honorable mentions and considerations. If you're a bit more PvP oriented or want to know how you held up in a fight, check out PvP Performance Tracker. Make sure you favorite any plugin you want to be able to quickly access, like potentially Entity Hider, so they're at the top of your plugin list. And most importantly, turn off your Discord collection log plugin when on seasonal modes. Don't be that guy. That's all I have for honorable mentions. Let me know in the comments if there are any other plugins that you think should be on this list. Maybe I'll make a second video. If you've learned something, or are enjoying this prep mini-series, make sure to click the respective buttons, as every little bit helps out. I'll be streaming most of my Deadman prep, including publishing a free route for you to use to get those sweet new crystal kits. I'll also be attempting to put out a video every single day of Deadman itself, so stay tuned for that series as we'll be going quite hard. Next video, we'll be looking at combat brackets and what builds you might want to try out. That's all for now. See you in the next one.